right, let's get ready for some inside Star Citizen review. Let's get professional. And welcome to DG360. We are super professional mode tonight. Thank you so much, Anarchy, for those beautiful bits. My beautiful brother, you listen to me. I'm going to do very bad things with those bits. You don't even want to know. Hi, everybody. Again, welcome to DG360. If you're watching on YouTube and you missed the live show with the amazing live audience here, you can join us every Thursday at 7. I know, mea culpa. I have to apologize. I have been off my game and schedule lately because of Thanksgiving and some personal stuff, which I will bear to you tomorrow. All of that, I'll bear it off my chest. In fact, I'll bear my chest as well, and you'll love it. Oh, I can't say that. I don't think I can say that. But let's watch tonight here, and let's get out of my own headspace, if we will. Just let's step back a little bit. It's crazy in there. And let's watch some Star Citizen, and let's have a good night tonight. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. No. You're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you.
Well, builds can break for a ton of reasons. It's not a point of pride that, I start to rattle off a whole bunch of different things that...
First off, okay, it's my volume. I was gonna get on them for not having professional audio. That was our fault. I'm going to share that one with you, Pepe. I normally blame you on these things, but, I'm just going to share that blame on that one.
Break builds because my whole vocation is to create tools, to create pipelines, and to create processes that don't break builds, that are very, very dependent. But in a perfect world, that might be the case. But in the reality of things, it can be so many things. There can be a perforce commit that completely destroys it. There's so many different types of errors. There can be a compilation error that fails the build. There can be build errors that have nothing to do with the actual game data itself. We're trying to move away from these kind of things, but having assets, single points of failures on certain assets. So a good example is like in our facial data, we use a thing called a DNA wrap deformer. And it literally just came up this last week that there was a wrap deformer attachment checked in that didn't have an LOD. Any face that was attaching this would fatal the entire game. As soon as QA got into it, every 2 seconds they were having a fatal error, which means the entire build sort of shut down on them and they couldn't.
Also, last week we went over the Whiskey Cola error. I don't know if I put that highlight out, but the Whiskey Cola exploit, I don't know if that's still going on. Maybe I should give instructions on how to crash the server. That'd be a horrible thing to do, but we watched it here the other week, and wow. It's pretty impressive. Maybe I'll put that out there. I don't know if that's a good thing to do.
And proceed with their testing. So this is one of the reasons that we put those asset validations and those things in place. There is a lot of reason that builds fail.
All right, Anarchy, thank you.
And, part of the tool's job is making sure that those don't happen.
Sean Tracy to me, and I'm not really trying to be an asshole. I'm just naturally an asshole. But Sean Tracy to me, every time I see Sean Tracy, I don't know. I get a vibe like... I don't feel like I can trust him, and I feel like he's being shifty and he's trying to, like, he's got this agenda. I don't know why. Like the way he talks or his mannerisms. I mean, I was in sales for a very long time and I feel it very salesman-y. Like I feel like when he talks, I feel like it's a little bit more salesman-y. I don't know what that is. If anybody else gets that vibe, push 1 in chat if anybody's alive. If there's anybody on YouTube that agrees with that, put a 1 down in the comments. I don't know. Every time I've seen him publicly speak, it's always kind of like very, I don't know, like it makes me feel like he's trying to sell me something.
So what is a build?
Yeah.
The easiest way to understand a build is everybody's heard of code
that's
compiling before, and that is there's raw code that is written, and then it gets run through a compiler, and then out comes a binary or an executable as people would understand it. The same actually happens with our assets. So sometimes our assets come through and they'll be in an intermediate type format, and then those will get sent over to the build system to be compressed in such a way that it's actually a lot easier for us to deliver the build to users and for the build to actually be able to
Good
run
one,
a lot
Panda.
quicker.
Got you a rim
In order
shot
to
on that, buddy.
distribute a version of the game to all the developers so we can continue
This
producing the
dude,
game.
I saw this dude tour with Pink Floyd, man. This guy, Martin Sr., this dude, man, amazing with Pink Floyd.
We create what we call a build many times a day. As work is completed, it gets submitted to our source control system, Perforce, which is basically a way of just holding all of the assets, all of the code, everything that goes into producing the game. This obviously is being done by hundreds of developers in different studios across the world.
So when a developer comes in the morning, they need to be able to depend on the build for the day. And the first build of the day, they're going to expect that all the stuff that they checked in the night before is actually present in that build so that they can continue to iterate on what they've been working on. So a build failing is a big deal. It actually brings down the entirety of the company on that particular change list. So there's a whole bunch of ways that we actually protect the build against failures like this. We run the assets through something called asset validation. And what this is a pre-commit check. You can also call it health checks for the assets. So we run these through. What is this validation? It checks for all the common errors that we would possibly make.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, when they talk about this and they talk about these faulty, these bugs and the issues that they have, and it really starts to frustrate me. I don't, like, here's the thing. It's like, yeah, we get it, but like, I feel like the hammer needs to be put down a little bit. I'm starting to feel that way. Like, I'm usually a very positive guy, and I'm usually in the developers' corners because I understand like how hard it is to be one, normally speaking, in an environment as a dev. Usually no fun. Usually it's a grind. And, then you have to deal with toxicity from the gamer base. So, like, I try to approach things on a game development level from both the dev side and the fan side and the gamer side. But, like, I do feel like lately I've been feeling like, we need to be a bit harder on what's going on with COD Imperium for quality reasons. For quality.
Make to the data.
And it's very important because when you're developing in the editor, it can check what you're doing within that one level, but it can't look at a holistic approach. So the editor itself will produce various checks to make sure that what's exported is in good shape. But the asset validator is very much a complement to that, checking things that they cannot check at that time.
And then if there's no errors, it allows...
Dude, the dude sounded like he was narrating for Lord of the Rings. Like, I literally for a moment thought he was the narrator for Lord of the Rings. Like, I was, like, transported.
And commit it. If there is errors, it tells them exactly what to do about it. They go and fix it, and then are able to commit again, and we should be safe on the build. So we had a tool in place since I got here to CIG, actually, and it started as a very, very small little Python script. And over time, as with any tool, it got a little more robust, but as it got robust, it also got very confusing to continue to build out.
It's showing its
Like, I
age.
feel like when Sean goes home, he gets like really upset. Like I and he's like, "Argh!" and he yells at himself in the mirror, like I just don't understand why I feel this way with Sean.
Continue to build out.
It's showing its age. There's been a lack
What's
of
up, Oz? How you doing,
structure
buddy?
to it, and it's been very difficult to maintain and to keep up to date.
Put
So
a
what we
one,
wanted
by
to
the
do
way,
was make sure
in
that not
chat.
only was it just the
Put a 1 in chat if you feel like Sean Tracy's the type of guy that would go home and yell at himself in the mirror. I mean, like, am I the only one? Or are there other people that feel this way about Sean?
tools team able to write asset
I
validation,
know
but
when
also
people
the
look
rest
at
of
me,
the
they
teams.
feel like throwing
And what that
themselves off a
required was a
bridge,
more
you
robust
know?
framework. It's sort of a plug-in kind of approach. So we moved it from Python over to C#, and now we have much broader adoption for all
fountain's
the teams,
good.
so that they can write their own levels of asset validation within the tool as well.
So of course, a big win for the tools team here is that we don't need to create all these tests. We can allow the experts in the other teams to do it for us.
Other teams among the company, as we've scaled up quite a bit comparatively to the older tools, can actually write asset validation inside of this framework. So this was a really important part of the new tool. Now it does everything that the old one already did, but now our scalability is so much broader.
So as we continue to develop Star Citizen, we get ever more complicated.
Okay, so maybe we should have had some flashpoints here on like the old versus the new. Like maybe we should have gone just a touch more professional. I know they have the background. I know they got the cool sets and stuff. But, you know, here's a pointer to Jared and the others making this, you know, maybe like little bullet points, you know, like give me some data, push up some data right there, you know. Whoa, Pepe, you put me on the wrong. Oh my God, Pepe, like really, Get me back into the show. And don't do the intro. That's ridiculous. That was so unprofessional. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm breaking that fourth wall.
Systems and therefore ever more complicated assets, and in particular dependencies between them get ever more convoluted. So it's very important that we can have a scalable system that allows contribution from everybody to help address the potential issues that this could incur.
So the exact same way as a player might be excited for a feature coming from a feature team within CIG, we have developers excited for a tool that may be coming from the tools developer within CIG. It's very much the same paradigm. So when we bring up new asset validation, they appreciate having this because they need...
Thank you, Dynas. Appreciate you. You got it. You want more DG? You got it, Dynas. You got it right in your face. All up in your face. Can you handle that? Better back up. There's so much.
need to know about those errors up front. They don't want to wait for the build to fail, for some producer to come to their desk and go, why has this failed? Why has your asset not worked out? For players especially, this is going to matter for you because as you've been waiting for a PTU build or an ePTU build, these failed builds slow these things down. And if we can't review them, we can't QA internally, that means a release doesn't go out. So we're trying to nab it right at the very beginning. So that developer knowing that there is a problem before.
He's like the really nice teacher in school that was really annoying that like you didn't care that he was so nice because he was annoying. So you didn't want to be around him. Sorry, Sean. Why am I so mean to Sean tonight? I am being unnecessary. I am being unnecessarily mean to Sean. And I expect plenty of, backlash on this. I expect.
Before it hits the build, before it fails to the build, and before it delays a release for you guys. So the tools team is incredibly important as far as the developers, players, and builds go. And hopefully this means more builds will make it to players' hands.
Should we shame
I hope you've
myself,
enjoyed
or
this
should we shame
brief look
Sean?
into the tools team and one of our products, and hope you see you again in the verse.
While much of Star Citizen's continuing development is dedicated to creating gameplay systems like cargo and salvage, new locations like rivers, sand caves, and crash sites, missions like the new prison escape, the Horizon platform stuff, the time trial races, and everything else that's heading our way in the upcoming Alpha 3.18, the folks that are focused on the making and iteration of tools to help the very process of game creation itself are an essential element of the game dev gumbo that we make here. And we're always thrilled when we can give them a few minutes to shine. But up next,
The game dev gumbo. Like, I don't know, man. That put a bad taste in my mouth there. I don't know what kind of word stew we're cooking up.
the long-awaited, often rumored, Polaris concept model internal layout rework. Now, it's not a series of new concept images like those that were created for the 600i we showcased a few weeks ago, but this is a down-in-the-rough 3D Max model look at the reworked concept mesh
What's up, Max?
to explore the new internal layout so potential pirates can begin plotting out their boarding actions.
Your eggplant matches the set, Max.
The Polaris is obviously
What's
really,
up,
really old
Eric? How you doing? I was
concept.
just talking to you in
It's
Discord.
been around for a very, very long time. It was one of the early ships that
What's
we
up,
did
kids?
the exterior concept art for.
The Polaris came out in, I think, 2017. Lots of
see you
features
all
have been
here.
added to
Thanks
the
for
game
joining me
since then
tonight.
that were not known about at that time or couldn't be planned for if they were known about.
Like a lot of the older ships, the interior just didn't fit. We couldn't get the size, the scale, or the metrics for how we would want it to appear to actually fit inside the frame that we had.
We've really now locked in how we want the interior layout, what the impact of the exterior means, but it's still the same Polaris that everyone originally saw and fell in love with.
Thank you so much, Oz. That's appreciated. It's been so long since I did the GG Polka. Feeling the goodness, feeling the positivity, the positivity. Thank you, everybody. It's so good to be back.
It just means that now it's kind of fit for purpose, whereas with the initial concepting phase and initial layout, it wasn't quite where we needed it to be.
Man, the Polaris has always been an old school jam for me ever since
The exterior remains pretty much the same beyond it has got larger to accommodate some of the interior changes. The role is the same, the key visuals are the same. You may notice, again, some like panel line changes or turret updates. But fundamentally, you look at the Polaris now versus then, it's almost indistinguishable aside from that scale change, and the role remains identical to what it was before.
I mean,
Moving on the inside, however,
I'll
we
take
have
two.
a completely different story. Although there wasn't much seen for what the inside was going to look like, we had to remove a lot of that and just start again. We fit the entirety of the interior
they've done that
inside
to
of it
every
while
ship. That is one of the comments you hear with like every single ship. You know, like, oh, here we go from concept, and we had to just go in it and strip it and start from scratch on the interior. Like I hear that so much on every ship, and I kind of ask myself, like, why? Like, why is that? I feel like that's double work. And as like a manager type of dude and a nerdy type of guy, like I want efficiency. So I'm going to go in there and be like, okay, why do you say this a lot? Well, like, why do you continually say you design the entire ship, interior, exterior, past concept phase, in gray box, you're there, everything's cool. And then you guys say, okay, let's look at the inside and we got to start from scratch. Like that happens a lot.
taking into account the change in component sizes.
Where we
Should
went
have been
from
one of the dwarves.
size 0 all the way up to size 10, whereas now we've got much more kind of distinct categorization of our components.
We've now got a capital shield generator, a capital power plant, a capital cooler, all to support the actual size of the ship and the scale of it, especially for what its role is within the actual universe. So, talking layout, we don't have concept images for every single room within the ship, but I can give...
What's up, Damon? Thanks for that resubscription, man. Obviously. Everybody remember. Boobies. I mean, that is probably one of the most important things to type in my stream. And totally acceptable. But yes, this man's bald head is almost rivaling mine. And I say almost because I have a beautiful sheen. And my bald head produces an olive oil, if you will, that I bottle up. Thank you, Orson. More boobies. Look at this. More boobies. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for that. Thank you. Christy, if you're watching, I am not endorsing any of this. This is very crude behavior. And I don't endorse this at all on my stream. At all.
Give you an estimation of what you can expect from it. So, you start from the bridge, which has been opened up a bit to give you a bit more space and visibility. Behind that, we then have the escape pod section, where there's escape pods for all the crew to be able to quickly evacuate the ship. Moving behind that, we then have the captain's quarters and office, as well as the CO's office. Behind that again, we then have the armory.
We need to talk about that later.
Moving further back, we have the crew bunk room and baths
This
and
is
showers.
very pimp.
Across from that, we then have the rec area. So
Right,
it's where the
Eric,
food
right.
is, it's where the relaxation is for the actual crew of the ship. Moving back further, we then come towards the center of the ship, where the actual hangar of the Polaris is.
It's a gripe I have,
And
though. You know,
that's
Eric,
had a bit of a
it's
size
my-
increase, so
my
it's very
gripe.
comfortable to fit things like a saber in it now. On
Oh.
the left and right hand side, on one side you have the medical facilities. On the other you have
Oh,
the
yeah,
holding
you'd
cells
need
for
at
any
least 6.
prisoners or wrongdoers that you might get hold of. And then moving back, you then have the entrance of where engineering is, which spans
The engineering's gonna be awesome. Thank you, Oz.
With a common denominator.
I'm feeling you, bro. Thank you, Oz, for all the support tonight, man. Super supportive. Thank you. I appreciate you.
about 2 decks. A small section of it is at the rear, which houses some of the more standard components. Then the lower deck of engineering holds the large capital components for the Polaris.
Man, this is my dream.
Moving
as
back
a
forward
child.
then
Every
from
time
the
I
rear,
see these
we
types
then
of
have the
things,
cargo
I
hold.
I go ape shit.
Moving forward from the cargo
Like,
area,
I
we
love
then have the
this.
torpedo room,
I love
which
this.
has all of the
This is
torpedoes stored
everything.
and an operation state.
Nobody's done it like this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, nobody has given you the realism and the ability to make you feel like you own the ship and you can fly it anywhere. That's it. That's it. It's as simplistic as that. And however you want to fly, it's your own way. If you don't even want to fly it, eventually, you're not even going to have to fly the thing. But it's so hard for people to picture because they say, oh, this is so far away. And yes, it's so far away. And then we get into the whole Star Citizen loop. But like when I was a child, man, this is it. This is it. I always wanted somebody to get to this point, to do something like this where I could look at the insides of ships and just be like, wow, this is absolutely fascinating. And I know that I'm going to have the ability to experience this and to own this and to do these things. And it sounds super nerdy, but I don't care. I love it. There's a lot of people out there that can relate. And those people that can't relate, shame on you for not having any imagination or soul. You're dead inside. You're dead inside.
If anyone needs to maintain any work down there.
So the Polaris is concept complete.
Gator.
We're pretty happy with the updates to it internally, and hope you are as well. And now we are just at the point of scheduling when we can jump it into production. It's naturally a large ship, slightly larger than it was. So it's not going to be a quick endeavor, but we think it's going to be a pretty fruitful one by the end of it.
The lessons that we've learned over the years from the evolution of making ships and their interiors have all come into play when we've done the Polaris.
Just happy to be here with
I
you, folks.
can't wait for people to be able to see it.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned a bit about the build system,
like this one's
how
too
it
short,
can
I'm getting
break,
spoiled.
how it affects development,
we're gonna have
and how
after
the
party,
new
don't
asset validation tool and the work of the tools teams themselves aim to combat that day in and day out. That the Polaris concept model internal layout rework is the last necessary step before that much beloved vehicle can move into production proper sometime in the future.
They're writing really hard and they're trying to stick to script, but sometimes it comes off too fake. Again, constructive criticism, just saying. You know, I appreciate they up the level of the game. Obviously, I've been talking about this for a year and a half, how they need like a new place and they need to invest money in it, and we can see it. And that's wonderful. And that's great. Just be careful now that you got it. I don't want this to turn into an episode of Silver Spoons. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want this to turn into like a Punky Brewster, any 80s sitcom. I don't want that. So do not stick to the script so much that I feel like there's no realism to it, you know? But the background and everything they've done, amazing. And they need to be longer now. Like, we have the studio. Like, let's be real. The shows need to be longer than, we need to get up in the 20-minute plus range with the Inside Star Citizen. Like, really, that's how I feel. Like, if we're going to put that kind of money into this, then the managers need to be like, hey, let's really go in it and let's get a little bit more content on the show, you know? Like, this is the showcase show for Star Citizen. Like, really, when people don't know about Star Citizen, this is the show they're going to come to. This is what they're going to see. And, you know, they need to get a little bit more, you know, content in the show now. I'd say about at least 20 minutes. It's a managerial decision. It's what I do. All right, everyone. If you're here on YouTube, right, and you missed us live and you're not having fun with us, we're sorry for you. And we're going to play a sad, sad trombone right now for you. But it's okay. But it's okay because we are having an after party. And, you know, the thing is that maybe you'll hit the next one and you have fun with us. And it'll be like, you know, maybe it won't. But I think that it will. I almost guarantee that it will. Are you guys ready for the after party? Let's have some fun. We got a lot you guys looked up tonight. I can't wait to see what you guys are watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, Jesus, Orson. See you, Orson. Orson can't handle the after party. I miss you, bud. I miss you. Have a good night. Actually, it's not night there. Or it is night there. It's turning night there. It's the opposite side of the world. I can't do math right now. All right, let's have the after party. Let's do it.